Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to address our national debt. My fellow Americans, we have a serious problem. In the past 40 years, Congress, which comprises of both the Senate and the House of Representatives, has only passed a budget 4 times. Only 4 times in the last 40 years has a budget been passed by Congress. That has contributed to our overwhelming national debt of over $36 trillion, which grows by $1 trillion every 100 days. If we continue to pass continued resolutions and omnibus bills, our annual deficits will double, our interest payments will triple, and for every dollar we borrow, 50 cents will go just to pay an interest on the debt. The American people are tired of Congress not doing the hard work that is necessary to bring spending under control and stop the national debt from growing. As members of Congress, we have an obligation to bring spending under control and ensure that present and future taxpayers are not forced to fund any federal program that is duplicative, wasteful, and inefficient. Every member of Congress knows that passing continued resolutions or omnibus bills does not bring spending under control, but simply adds to our $36 trillion national debt. The current continued resolution expires on December 20th. So once again, in the next couple of weeks, Congress will debate on how we're going to fund the government in 2025. So what will it be? Will it be a continued resolution? Will it be an omnibus bill? Or will it be a balanced budget that will fund the government in 2025? Speaker Johnson assures us that it will not be an omnibus bill, and because Chuck Schumer refuses to pass the appropriation bills passed in the House, some will argue that the only option left on the table so that we don't face a government shutdown is a continued resolution. Most Americans are not aware that there is a boogeyman that lurks in the halls of Congress. This boogeyman shows up twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year. It first shows up in September, and then it appears again in December. What is the name of this boogeyman that Congress is afraid to face? Its name is government shutdown. For countless years, the leaders of Congress have lacked the courage and strength to take on this boogeyman for fear of having to explain to the American people why we're unable to pass or perhaps refuse to pass a formal budget as outlined in the 1974 Budget Act. The American people are not afraid to shut down the government, and I stand with the American people. It is morally wrong for Congress to force the American people to carry a $36 trillion national debt on their backs and to expect our children to carry this growing debt on their backs as well. I say it's time for Congress to pass a formal budget that spends less than what it collects in taxes from the American people. I say it's time for Congress to evaluate one by one the 1,200 unauthorized expired programs that are currently being funded by Congress to the tune of $516 billion and vote to either reauthorize or terminate each one of them. I hear in the halls of Congress that if we want to be home with our families during Christmas, we must settle for a continued resolution. I would remind Congress that we have men and women in uniform that have taken the same oath of office that we did, and many of them will not be spending Christmas with their families because they have a duty to fulfill. We also have a duty and obligation to fulfill to the American people. That is to bring spending under control and stop the national debt from growing. And that responsibility comes before family or any holiday on the calendar. Congress should not allow the leadership of either the Senate or the House of Representatives to lead us into 2025 with a shameful continued legacy that Congress is incapable of putting people over politics and passing a balanced formal budget that spends less than we receive from the taxpayers. So to Chuck Schumer, I say put your ego and pride aside and sit down with Speaker Johnson and develop a plan to utilize the appropriation process outlined in the 1974 Budget Act to fund the government in 2025 before the end of the year. There are plenty of days still left on the calendar to do this. Where there is a will, there is a way. For every member of Congress should be committed to working long hours if need be, to pass a formal budget for 2025. Together, let us roll up our sleeves and do what is right for the future of our nation as it pertains to the budget. Together, let us show the nation that as members of Congress, we are ready, willing, and able to fulfill the assignment of the American people have bestowed upon us. Together, let us make history by stopping decades of wasteful spending, and together, let us protect the purse of the people. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
The gentleman